Coming up, who is the most powerful man in Kenya today? Is it William Samoei Ruto? Or is it somebody else? Could it be Raila Amolo Odinga? Stay with me and find out the startling answer to that question. You may not all agree, but the evidence is there. Then also in this video, the 20th of March, right through history, we've always had crazy things happening on that date. Game-changing things. The invasion of Iraq in 2003. And then that very crazy announcement by a brilliant scientist called Albert Einstein. Stay with me and find out. If you're not a newcomer here, you know what to expect with Kumekucha videos. In-depth, entertaining analysis. And then there's the other very thorny issue, which many people have still not seen. It is still confusing a lot of people in the analysis. And this is boardroom politics versus grassroots politics. Boardroom politics is where people defect, people are given money to do this and that, etc., etc. Grassroots politics ni vitu chini kwa ground hapa, mali wananchi wako. Where do you think events will have the most impact? Especially now in Kenya. Now I'm sure you're doubting. Stay with me and I'll prove to you the truth and reality of the situation. Karibu sana to this video. I'm sure you'll enjoy yourselves thoroughly. Folks, twende kazi. Centuries ago, a soothsayer in the streets stopped a very powerful Roman leader called Julius Caesar and said to them, "Caesar, beware the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March." And now Kenyans are preparing to face the 20th of March 2023. Kenyans, beware the 20th of March. Beware the 20th of March. It is super fascinating that this date, 20th of March, has had very major game-changing events take place over the centuries and over the years. It was on this date in 2003 that the invasion of Iraq by the United States of America, Britain, and other allied forces began in earnest, and the world held its breath. If we can go a bit further back in history, it is on this date in 1916 that a brilliant scientist called Albert Einstein revealed to the world for the first time the theory of relativity. E is equals to mc squared has to be the most famous formula in history. It is fascinating that in 1916, when Einstein first unraveled his theory of relativity, what he said was something the people expected to hear from maybe a fortune teller rather than a scientist. Because what Einstein was telling the world, the unbelieving world, is that energy and mass are the same thing. The same thing in different forms. My apologies for getting carried away. I know we are not all scientists. Hata mimi nilianguka physics. Na tuko wengi. The people who failed physics are like Azimio supporters. But the question, the very big, burning, nagging question on the minds of Kenyans is the following. What exactly will happen on the 20th of March? What will happen? Can I go to work on the 20th of March? Because if I don't, I could lose my precious job. What do I do? Now, first of all, let's address the issue of those who will want to go to work at all costs. It may be a good idea to make sure you go to work, even if you support Azimio. However, I have a simple question. How will you get there? How will you get to your workplace? Unless your workplace is your bedroom or inside your house, then there's no issue here. But if you have to commute to work, how will you get there? Because you'll have to rely on a lot of other people agreeing with you that they must go to work this day, that they must facilitate others to go to work on this day. Even if you have your personal vehicle, who will want to risk their vehicle in very uncertain waters? Who? Unajua bei ya windscreen. But let us stick to the politics. You see, what we have right now in Kenya is something very interesting. We have boardroom politics versus grassroots politics. Now, grassroots politics ni situation kwa ground, okay? And boardroom politics are the visits we are seeing to State House from Nyanza leaders from other parts of the country, going to see Ruto. Now, according to the analysis I've seen so far, it seems that we Kenyans have a huge problem differentiating between the two. So let me simplify it even further. Who has more power right now? The boardroom politics fellows or the grassroots politics fellows? Who are the boardroom politics fellows? That's the Kenya Kwanza government. Who are the grassroots politics fellows? That's Azimio and Raila. So you just tell me, it doesn't matter who you support. In your opinion, who has more power? One way of looking at it is you can say we are a democracy, and therefore the person with the most number of people supporting the cause is the most powerful. And I would totally agree with that. But what about if that person who has got the vast majority of people behind him is not in government? They don't have state machinery. They don't control the military, the police, etc., etc. What if that is the situation? Well, I refer you back to the case of Sudan. In the reign of a president who ruled for 30 years, longer than Moi, ruled Kenya, a man called President al-Bashir. He had state machinery, but the people opposing him had more people behind them. What happened? Tell me, because I won't tell you. Let me give you another example from right here in Kenya. In 1991, we were exactly in this position. The government was playing boardroom politics. The opposition was playing grassroots politics. And the agenda was to return the country back into multi-party politics. And which side won? You know, it is the side which wanted the country to go back into multi-party politics, the opposition, which didn't have state machinery. And here you need to ask yourself the question, what if Moi had not been swayed and had stuck to his guns of single-party politics by law in Kenya? What do you think would have happened? Simple answer to simple question. Moi would not have lasted in power for another couple of weeks. He would have gone. That's why wise Moi bought himself more time and did something that was unthinkable to KANU hardliners at that time. They saw it as a weakness. Of course, they couldn't dare tell Moi, but they were asking themselves, how could Moi be so weak to succumb to the opposition takataka. That's what they must have been telling themselves. But the truth is, Moi was surviving. And indeed he survived for another 10 years. So if you're one of those people who's very worried about defections to Liza Boli, hopefully I'll do another video focused on defections. Because history tells us, defectors, they never have any impact. In fact, they have the opposite effect. Defections always end up strengthening the parties they have defected from. Yeah, the opposition. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this. Our laws and our constitution says it is only the government that has the power to declare public holiday. And so, if indeed on the 20th of March, the streets are empty, people don't go to work, which is what I believe will happen, and this has been announced by Raila Odinga and Azimio, I pose the question, who has the power? Simple question. Please give me a simple answer, bila my feelings. Because the truth and the reality of this life is that you can't fool around with several heavy gorillas charging at you. Even if you have a gun, hey, you can't fool around. And in the same way, you can't fool around with the masses of a country, even if you have guns. This is a very simple truism, yeah, that it seems the government is missing. And it is just mind-boggling that they can miss it. It is mind-boggling to think that somebody somewhere is thinking that by playing their cards the right way, by creating the right perception, by getting a few prominent people from Luo Nyanza to rubbish Raila Odinga's agenda, that they'll be able to stop these gorillas rushing at them. Wa? Kweli dunia iko na maneno. But you see, this thing happens to all of us. If you ignore the rules of life, if you ignore how God Almighty wired all of us, then chances are that you'll end up in a situation where you're in your own world, where you cannot see the obvious. Let me give you a quick example. You fall in love with this lass, and you have a lot of money. You have money coming out of your ears. You have so much cash. And this beautiful young Kenyan lady tells you, I'm in love with that poor peasant boy, not you. But money has blinded you. And you're very sure there's no competition here. Between me and that poor poverty-stricken boy, hapo hakuna kitu, hakuna. And you force things, and you force things, and maybe you succeed in marrying this young lady, and you think you've won. But the heart of this young lady is not with you. It will never be with you. In fact, now she hates you even more than before. Her heart is still outside there with that poor, poverty-stricken Kenyan. She loves him and only him. If I can borrow from a very popular local phrase, she does not want to cry in Muthaiga. She would rather cry in Gorogosho. You know, most Kenyans say they would rather cry in Muthaiga. Yeah. With all the money around them, with all the comforts of life around them, they can forgo romance and their heart for money. But of course, that is not how we are wired. And so with all your money, you begin the nightmare of living with a woman, sharing your life with a woman whose heart is elsewhere. I'm telling you, my fellow men, there is nothing more torture on earth than that. Hero on earth. I assure you. You're flying down to the coast for holiday. You're smiling, you're happy, you're looking forward to it. Yeye amenuna. Amefura kama mandazi ya bama. And because you have decided to have your holiday away from any crowds, in case somebody spots her, akinuna, you spend at this place where you do your own cooking. And she's a very good cook. But she cooks the ugali, na unapewa ugali mbichi. She roasts the chicken, yeah, and it is raw. There's blood coming out of the bones. You see, even to cook for your man, you need to do it with the love. Kama hakuna love, that dish will not work out. It doesn't matter how skillful the chef is. That is a new secret I've revealed to you. Go and do your research and find out. You can't cook without love in your heart. What saves many of us men is that the women who do not love us cook with love because of their children. Period. Incidentally, I don't know if you've noticed, that small illustration I've just given is exactly what happened in Kenya starting August 2022. Yeah. Somebody married a woman who does not want him. Ampendi na amtaki. And she's not breaking any law. Yeah, there's no law that says you must love. Hakuna. Love is your own decision. Personal decision. You can't force me to love you. Aje? Hey, no way. You can't force me to love you. You can force me to do some things, kama kwa kitandani, but love won't be there. You will be operating with a robot. Ukijidanganya this is a human. Hey, never joke with human nature. And it never changes. You cannot do any ukarabati on human nature. It remains the same. It has always been the same since the beginning of time. Now there's another reason why the 20th of March has to be very significant, whether we like it or not. And that reason is that the same similar kind of action will be taking place in at least 3 other African countries. In South Africa, protests against the government. Julius Malema is hoping to bring Pretoria to a standstill on the 20th of March. In Tunisia, the same deal. In Nigeria, the same deal. Folks, beware the 20th of March. Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.